got great attendance here. This is highly unusual, but I am going to start this meeting off for those of you who know Tim Leander, who served faithfully on this board for years and years. Many of you know Tim. Tim's wife, Alice, lost her battle with cancer last Sunday. And her celebration of life is tonight and tomorrow. So for those of you that know Tim, now is a good time to maybe touch base and be part of Tim's world. So thank you for that, man. Let's start off today with invitations, and we'll just work our way around the room. State your name and who you're with. Maybe Mr. Rouser, would you be kind enough to get us started?
Yeah, Mr. Rouser, Steve Wall. Carlos Morales, MAPA. Like office in MAPA. Jared Walker, Nebraska DOT. Jeff Reeslein, Steve Omaha. Gordon Barber, MAPA.
Board Safety, Nebraska DOT District 2.
Frank, I see Omaha. Eric Williams, Captain American. Mark McCutcheon, City of Omaha. Matt Dobbs, Elizabeth Public Works.
Dan Owens, Omaha Airport Authority.
Pittsburgh, Douglas County.
Mike Eric, City of Williams Public Works.
Sheridan Beavers, Omaha Metro Transit.
City Works and Public Works for Sark County.
Lee Myers, AARP.
Jason Carvey, HDR.
Jennifer Pangborn, WSP.
Adam Denny, Governor Golden Holding.
Clark Pugh with Shimmer.
Elise Manuel, MAPA.
Tim Adams, WSP.
And Lindsay Button, MAPA.
Thank you very much. Anyone online that would like to introduce themselves?
Yeah, Sam Hoopert, Greater Omaha Chamber of Commerce.
Yusuf Dana, High Street Consulting.
Joan Green, ENA.
Tim Warner with MAPA.
Carpenter, Benish.
Matt Cox, Council Bluffs Public Works.
Any other online folks that did not introduce yourself? Okay. Item A, we're going to jump in with the approval of the minutes from the December 6th meeting. So these minutes were available for review. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or is there a motion to approve those minutes? Motion by Mike. Roger. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we have that. Item D is the final MAPA civil rights plan, and Lindsay is going to walk us through that.
Yeah, so I presented on this quick, well, not quick, a little more lengthy presentation at the December joint TTAC and RPAC meeting. So as a quick reminder for those of you who weren't able to attend that meeting, MAPA's civil rights policy is the outcome of several federal regulations that any recipient of federal funds, including MAPA, is required to uphold and ensure that our programs and activities meet. This plan is updated every 3 years and hits specifically our Title VI, Limited English Proficiency, and Americans with Disabilities Act. So the MAPA civil rights policy rolls all three of those into one policy and works to explain how those regulations are implemented across the agency as well as at a programmatic level. And it also outlines the complaint procedure for Title VI and ADA. So any individual who thinks they may have been discriminated against based on the, you can go to the next slide actually, based on the grounds of disability, sex, national origin, race, color, age, as provided by Title VI and the Civil Rights Act, is welcome to submit a complaint to the agency following the procedures outlined in this plan. So this is MAPA's civil rights policy statement. It shows up both in this plan as well as on our website, and it's publicly posted outside the MAPA office. These policies also fall down to any entity that we distribute federal funds to, so any of our subrecipients, and our Title VI coordinator, which as of right now is our lovely director, Mike Helgerson, is responsible for upholding this policy. So if we go to the next slide, please. So updates since over the last 3 years. So for this update, we've updated the demographic snapshots based on the latest 5-year American Community Survey data. There's also been some updated guidance from both state DOTs that we have implemented in this policy update. A couple key actions that came out of this update include updating our complaint forms to now they are in fillable PDFs as opposed to just a Word doc, and available in both English and Spanish. So that has actually been completed since I talked to you guys back in December. We're also looking to explore translation options for the MAPA website and formalize our staff training program with onboarding materials for new staff. These two last pieces are updates since I presented to this group in December. The final plan now includes the results of our committee demographic survey, so that went out to everyone on all of our committees. We got about a 26% response rate, which is not quite as high as we would like, but still pretty good. And we did not receive any public comments on this plan. So those are the only updates that I have since the draft. The final version was distributed to this group with the packet last week. So I guess I'll open it up for any comments or questions that anyone might have on this policy, and otherwise we would request a recommendation for approval to the MAPA board for that meeting next week.
Are there any questions or discussion from anyone? Seeing and hearing none. I'll motion to approve. Second. Okay, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. In order, is Jim in the room? Or
He's on.
Perfect. So Jim is going to present the MAPA State DOT performance charts for us today. And now from now on, when I think of Mike Culberson, I'm going to think of the lovely. Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
5 years old.
I do what I can.
So he's nice to meet him. Jim, I think the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Todd. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Been coming to you all for a number of years now. We're going to talk to you about 2025 target setting for safety, target measures, and then updates to the Nebraska and Iowa Department of Transportation pavement and bridge condition performance measures and targets. System and freight reliability we're going to bring to you next month. There's just some data that comes available right at the start of the year, and it wasn't quite ready in time, so we'll bring to you the latest and greatest performance through 2024 next month. Go to the next slide, please, Court. So as a reminder, with our safety measures, the 5 measures are there on the left. Those are a 5-year rolling average, and the targets are set based upon that. We have crash data from 2019 through 2023, and that's our baseline for these targets. We're using policy-based adjustments, if you'll recall, and I think I'll call those out in the following slides. And just as a reminder, when we talk about rates, those are measured per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. Orienting you to the charts, these will look similar as we proceed. The blue bars are an actual number or a count per year. In this case, these are our predicted values that allow us to get to our policy target, which is currently set at 0 fatalities and serious injuries in our region by 2040. The solid blue line or teal there is the 5-year rolling average that would result from that predicted value over time, and then the red line is a fit. So you can see over time we've been setting targets based upon that, and the 2025 fatality target and the 2024 projection will pull directly from this curve. So going to the next slide, please. This is our performance to date through 2023. Again, the number of fatalities per year are the blue bars. The green shaded area are the 5-year period. And just for the purpose of comparison, the red line would be how we've previously set targets, which is that linear fit to the 5-year rolling, 5 values in that 5-year rolling average. And then the projection and target is again shown on the graph to the right. So again, following that curve from the previous slide, we would look to be reducing fatalities to 58.9 by 2025. Any questions here kind of on the layout of each of the charts and our fatalities target. Okay, we'll continue on. Next slide, please. Just as an overview, we did our last regional traffic patterns update using 2022 data. So the projections here from 2022 were estimated at 2% growth per year through 23, and then the last 2 years at only 1% per year. This is supported by data that we have from Nebraska Department of Transportation. They provide county level VMT, which fits well with our projections as well. And we do take a look at the statewide values as well from their automatic traffic recorder data. So going to the next slide, please. Pulling directly off of the fatality rates, the fatalities from the previous graph and those projected VMT values, we result in the numbers here. And I think, unfortunately, I'm going to provide for you a different set of numbers in the final table. I updated the table in this graph, and it doesn't look like it's taken. So or I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but there'd be a possibility to refresh the Google Slides just so we can show the updated numbers. Thank you for that. And I guess while Court is doing that, I'll get to the punchline. To continue to meet our targets, this is the first year where we are setting and we're seeing a pretty substantial change in fatality rate to allow us to drive down fatalities and start, picking up the pace at which we're reducing fatalities and serious injuries in the region. So for those of you that would have attended the safety committee meeting, I've updated calculations since then, and so this will look different. But you can see here, these are pretty significant drop in the fatality rates that we would be looking at to meet that number of fatalities per year that we projected to get to 0 by 2040. Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide. Similarly with serious injuries, we have a fitted curve. And moving to the next slide. Historically, this has been an area where we have seen pretty positive improvement, reduction in number of serious injuries. We unfortunately did see an uptick in 2023. And although we don't have the final values for 2024, linking it to what we saw for fatalities, I would predict that we're unfortunately going to see maybe even an increase year over year from last year as well. So this is going to make it more challenging. But again, those targets currently set are from the curve to get us to 0. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So similar with fatality rate, the projection and target to achieve those numbers are pretty significant. Clearly we've not seen anything approaching or under a value of 6 serious injuries per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. And so this is going to take quite a bit of effort, and I'll let Tim expand upon that in the next portion of our TTAC agenda, but really kind of, brings forward our desire to help the region, kind of take action immediately through execution of our comprehensive safety action plan once it's finalized. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. And so this is the toughest one. Again, as a reminder, we don't have a measure of non-motorist travel. So this is just a number of non-motorist fatal and serious injuries. Again, we've seen quite a bit of variability over the measured period, but again, an uptick in 2023. We know from what the city of Omaha unfortunately experienced in 2024 that these numbers are only likely to go up again as well. So a focus area for the plan for sure, and I know for many communities in the region. So again, looking to get your recommendations and really good feedback on the draft comprehensive safety action plan materials that Tim will talk about next. So we'll go to the next slide. Again, this just shows that curve that we'd set initially to get to 0 by 2040. Okay, next slide, please. So in summary, we did meet our targets, and we're better than baseline in all numbers. So that's positive. We did show improvement year over year. However, against the 5-year rolling average, and we'll go to the next slide. And these are our proposed 2024 projected values and 2025 targets for the coming year. Next steps here, of course, would be that we would take these to the MAPA Board of Directors next week for approval, and these would be provided to our state DOT and Federal Highway Division offices following that for acceptance. Our date this year, our required submission date is at the end of March, just due to timelines with the State Department of Transportation submissions for their targets last year. I went through quite a bit here pretty quickly. Are there any questions on the safety targets?
There are no hands up in the room, Jim.
Great, thanks, Todd. Okay, we'll go ahead and shift gears. Go to the next slide, please, Court. So MAPA has, throughout the Transportation Performance Measure reporting period, supported Iowa and Nebraska Departments of Transportation in their targets. Again, the measures are on the left-hand side. The items that regional communities would contribute to here are the local or the off-system non-interstate national highway system pavement and bridges. And so this is information really provided by each of the departments of transportation for the target setting. These are 4-year targets. First set in 2022. There's a mid-period reporting, which allows target setters to make any updates. And so they had a couple updates, and really that's what I'm going to be talking to you about now. Next month, we'll provide, again, some more detailed information. Nebraska Department of Transportation provides each MPO with a list of pavement candidate projects based upon their measures. They collected data off of the roads last year. And I guess of note, and I'll show those numbers here in a bit, but Nebraska did update their collection truck and the data that they get, and what that means for MAPA and for member communities is some of this data is more readily available in a viewer mode. So to see that condition, that data that's collected by both imagery as well as the underlying pavement condition data. So we'll look to do a deeper dive on that next month. Okay, so just as a quick reminder, these are the roadways which are on that local or off-system national highway system. Next slide, please. So for Iowa, in their evaluation, the mid-period reporting, they were able to meet all their targets. They in each case were not better than baseline. A number of factors that they reported here. First of all, I guess just to note, the federal highway calculation of good, fair, poor is a pretty elaborate one. It's a 12-step calculation. It is different from the pavement condition index, which Iowa Department of Transportation uses in their their project evaluation and just performance of the system in general. So they did note that while they did see a reduction here, the maintenance of the assets generally that they're happy with, and they made that reporting. They did note for the performance period upcoming, they reduced the target from 55% to 53% interstate percent good. And as you can see there, I guess in blue, the non-interstate NHS and down to 30% from 35%. The bridge performance also noted that they were impacted by inflation and material shortages, and that didn't allow them to meet some of the construction project timelines they were looking at. And so therefore, they've reduced their 4-year target for NHS percent good bridge performance to 48%. We'll go to the next slide for a quick overview of Nebraska. Again, as I noted, Nebraska has a new collection system. In doing so, the data is just different, so they did see some variability. They were able to collect more information, which reduced, in some instances, the federal highway measure of their pavement condition. So they've reduced that target of the interstate percent good to 50% from 65. Any questions on the pavement and bridge condition target update? Okay. Thank you very much. Again, next month we'll bring to you PM3, which is the truck and travel time reliability. We'll be providing this information to the board of directors, and we would request a recommendation to the board for approval of MAPA's PM1 targets and acceptance of the Department of Transportation's PM2 targets.
Thank you, Jim. So I'm assuming you're looking for a favorable recommendation on this. This is under our action items, correct? Yes. Okay. Is there a motion to approve this report? Second on all of the favors, say aye. Same sign, you're the end. Motion is approved, and it looks like we're staying with you as we shift our discussion item for safe streets for all. Correct? Jim, are you presenting our
I can, Jim.
So, yeah, please, Tim, you go ahead and take it away since I'm not there in person.
Yeah, so, the next slide, would you prefer, do you want keyboard or do you? Yeah, I give you the. I can yell at you. That's well work, but. Let's see. Yeah, safe streets for all. So, we last, just a month ago is when we last gave you an update, and that, what we were talking about then, we're looking at, but, as Jim alluded to, there's been a lot of progress on the safe streets for all, and we're kind of coming into the finish line of sorts here. In the timeline here, we still have, we have till the end of June to finish up the project as a whole, but we're still doing a draft plan to MAPA at the end of this month. Mid-February, then it would be finalized after their review, internal review, and then ready to go to show to the public. So that's what we're going to talk about here is the recommendations, making sure that they're where they need to be. But the very kind of accelerated timeline within when that feeds what we're asking from you for your review, just because there's a lot of deadlines and other funding tied to this project as a whole, through demonstration implementation projects through SS4A that MAPA wants to make sure the region is competitive for. So if we're going to require moving so there, that's the reason. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about the leadership commitment, safe systems, and then safety metrics recommendations that we have. And so update on the Vision Zero Toolbox. The review window is closed. That's what last month we talked over what those projects were, the toolbox that's being used. We had over 120 comments on the credit projects, and 50 comments on the Vision Zero Toolbox. It's a really good response. The method that was used for review was a PDF link to the toolbox, and then we had this GIS portal created for the credit project. We got really good feedback, and even one of them in these windows of comment, this is where we can make the most substantive changes, the biggest changes. You'll have another look at the draft action plan we've all put together. We'll get another round of review from TTAC and safety committee and our leadership commitment group. But really, that window is where we're going to make some really bigger changes from. And another thing I want to highlight is we're going to reassign to every comment, and we have one-on-one meetings set to the side where we're gonna follow up with people if there's something that we wanna talk about that maybe it's not gonna come, it's gonna be more than just 2 sentences and a comment box that we need to respond to. So, any questions or thoughts on that process and how that went? And Lindsay, is the, who distributed some of the recommendations that we're gonna be talking over and we can take us home. But, so, I think Jim probably said it, I wasn't actually, I didn't know I was making these slides that Jim would be presenting, the goal, the metrics going into MAPA's regional goals for safety. So that sets this conversation up better than anything. We have a goal of 0 by 2040. And so when you take a look at these recommendations, and so the file that you're going through is, many of you received an email yesterday with that showed you how to get into an Adobe link to make comments. And some of you have already done that, start doing that. And that, with the piece of paper that's going around, the booklet is exactly the same thing. And so you're able to go in there, put in your comments, highlight things, toss things out, and then say, hey, I feel this way about this, we want your expertise. And what I just want to set this up to you is we needed to be bold, right? To get to 0 fatalities, we want to meet that, create any concern, we push on jurisdictions to start doing or to adopt or adapt. But the thing is, I'll go over how these recommendations are set up and how feedback can be best served for us making these changes. But again, setting the stage is how we got to this point. It's through a lot of public engagement. We have a lot of stakeholder engagement, and then it's data driven. And so these recommendations came from our bipartisan work that we talked about before, as well as systemic data. So getting to how some of these recommendations came about, looking at the things that hold over the top, our analysis, and then as well as national best practice. And I just put a visual on the side here of kind of the state of each one of our communities. And a concern came up from some of our smaller communities like Waterloo, why is their rates so high? Well, I mean, the population is low, and we also have a state highway going through there, and a lot of these small communities. And overall, there's an overrepresentation on our state routes compared to the streets. So the partnership between our state partners is very important for the needs as well. And these images on the right, I just have them to show that we're tracking all the engagement we're doing. They're about a month and a half old. The new public engagement plan updates we have, I believe, next week. So these will all get updated, but we want to show that we're doing a lot of meetings across the community. So far, we've put 50+ hours at community events, evening events, going and presenting at events, six community presentations, and then we have 4 public open houses that are coming up. We'll talk about when those are going on. But we've really been trying to listen to the community as much as possible, making sure we're going across the MAPA region. That this plan is covering Douglas and Harvey County, as well as our Iowa municipalities, Colorado. So we're trying to get a lot of coverage here. And then I want to say our stakeholder engagement. So we conducted 8 different focus group meetings over the last month. So only in on subject areas like EMS and police response to the crash scene. We had a focus group about work zone safety, about construction and maintenance. We had focus groups covering education, hospitals, we talked to our trauma centers. So we really wanted to make sure that we're dialing in to each one of these safe system approaches and talking to people that are right there working in the ground case. And it's not just, we want to make sure they understand what works for them, but they want to see that can make their system safer. Again, we have the one-on-one meetings that we've conducted some of them with, and then we also want to follow up to make sure once the draft plan is created, that it's meeting people's concerns throughout the meeting. And then I'll just highlight this 24 meetings with jurisdiction leaders. We already did about half of those, and that's when we introduced the plan to our 17 jurisdictions that were asked to sign on through a memorandum of understanding. And they asked them, hey, we agree with this, we want to incorporate this into what we do. And we have another 12 of those meetings that we've been happening, 17 jurisdictions, 12 meetings. So we've been talking to a group like Western Douglas County, we staff, who kind of adopt that as a group as well. So we're meeting with them as well, we're gonna follow up, with any of their concerns with the recommendations. So that's a lot of the engagement, some policies and recommendations to about, but then there's also the data side. So we started looking at the data, and so we look at mode share data. So we see the over and under representation of different mode shares. So next slide shows this better. But we had all these focus groups that came about, these 14 focus groups came about because of the data. And so we have a section in the plan looking at the data around each one of those focus areas, so pulling out pieces that explain why a recommendation might come about, based on missing over-representation in motion. Or this graphic below is there's a over-representation of crash KSIs, killed and serious injury crashes happening in our city. So things like that, I just want to highlight are the things that are relevant to recommendation. And then this mode share, we kind of break it down with how that representation ratio, which I'll talk about, which you'll see a lot in the draft action plan. You can see for motorcyclists, for example, they make up, that's not showing up, but it's 0.1% of the total mode share. And this is from our census data of how people travel. And then we look at KSI mode share. Motorcyclists make up 16% of this pie chart. So then you do a representation ratio, right? 160 times over representing the data. That's if you, so per trip, motorcyclists are 160 times more likely to end up killed or seriously injured. Right? So we have things that are being pulled out of the data like that are going to need the recommendation. Oh yeah, please.
Is that changed recently?
Is this changed? Well, so this with the helmet repeal?
Yeah.
We found out, we don't know yet, the data's not in. But we predict well, Jim, I don't know if you have preliminary data. So the crash data, because we have to wait for about 3 years or so of crash data, it's kind of a lagging indicator. So when we talk to the trauma centers, UNC is actually leading a study that I think they published soon based on the traumas that they're seeing in motorcycle crashes. We're hopefully going to get data sooner versus later than that. But when Missouri repealed their law in 2018, they did a 3-year after study and saw 40% up in motorcycle fatalities. Okay, so the recommendations. I'm not going to go through the recommendations. It's really encouraging everybody to jump on that link. And we'll send out an email next week, remind folks, just place your comments in there, and you can look over it and again, take the sheet home as well. And please send me an email with anything, but I just want to go over how everything's laid out. So we have actually, this has been updated. 8 different sections. The first one being leadership commitment. We get into all 5 safe systems. There's been a section added right here for data and transparency, because we know that there's a lot of concerns with how good is our data, how do we make data-driven based solution decisions without good data. So that's actually added. And at the end, I'll go over safety metrics. So taking all of our recommendations, pulling out 20 different things that we can track year to year for our jurisdiction, and see how those are being, we're tying back the high priority network and just tracking those to feel like we can track things. Whereas this is very nebulous at times, we want to make sure we're looking at it year to year. So organization of the recommendations. 1 to 2 sentences for the recommendation itself. This is what municipality or MAPA would take on as the thing that they're going to start doing. Then we give a description of justification. We're tying back to research that was done or the data that we pulled out earlier, why we're recommending it. We give a cost, very relative cost. This is the same format that USDOT uses with the countermeasures that work. So we know some of these costs are very different. We want to look at level of effort. Timeline, we kept everything under things are gonna change as successes start happening, recommendations start getting adopted. And so the plan will need to get updated 3 to 5 years from now. And then the applicable community, so we make a suggestion of what communities this applies to. Some things are just in the state, or something everyone for MAPA to do, or it's a jurisdictional size thing. We really want your comments on that, if you feel your community should apply to something or shouldn't. But yes. So, what you'll find in these documents, in the document is 5 pages of intro, basically highlighting what this presentation does, and 50 recommendations. And then at the very end, which I'll go over, are 20 safety metrics is what we're encouraging jurisdictions to help with MAPA to track year to year. And then we need, in the last bullet there, we need your review. And we're hoping, and this is the big ask too, is we would love to get all substantial review finished by the end of next week. We can extend that window, but we want to really start making these comment adjustments and doing one-on-one meetings if they're needed as soon as possible, just because of this tight timeline we're working with. So, getting over the head with this, but the link that you've already received, it's simple. It just opens up a new window with this document pulled up. You make your first comment, and it'll ask you to put your name in, and then you can continue through the rest of the document to make comments. And then this will be the same platform, the same link that we'll be responding to, and how we're going to address this, where we need to follow up for other ones. So, I made that coming up last. Yeah. Both is the answer. So here's the timeline moving forward. The first draft, the safety action plan, late January, is going into MAPA, prepares for review of everything. And then again, this is just the recommendations review. We'll have the full document out for your review then by early February. We're reaching out to our communities for the memorandum of understanding. We have the draft document. And then public open houses. You see on the left are 4 public open houses that we across the metro area. And they're all in late February. They're all from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. We have a lot of social media centered around this, so we're going to be pushing out, encourage engagement at those. And we'd love your attention as well. And then the final safety action plan. Yeah, that's everything I had.
So Omaha has their plan adopted. How does it conflict with anything in the Omaha plan, or how do those two mesh together?
Yeah, so we took into account Omaha's plan. So something like the priority projects, right? That could possibly conflict. We had a conversation. We had a conversation with Austin on, do you want us to line up your guys' priority project exactly with how we did? Insert them right into what this is for. We are encouraged to take a new look at it because there's 2 years more of data. There's a different methodology being done. So we were encouraged to make this as a separate thing that can live alongside it and see where the agreements are, and maybe there's not overlap, maybe it's because of the see that. But so largely that was kind of the approach.
I think the evidence is we're looking at regional priorities. We can't exclude all. You know, and I think that's kind of part of it. Trying to find that organization that's in.
Well, thank you for the time, and yeah, so really reach out if you have any questions on anything, but thank you.
Thank you, Tim. A reminder that all the projects is open until the end of today, so if you haven't started, your afternoon is going to be a little bit busy. Any questions or comments on that, Court? Is there anything you want to say for that?
It's out there. I know that people are taking part in that they're planning on putting in applications. Just to reiterate, SDG on the Nebraska side is not open. It's only SDG. The Nebraska program is filled up after last year's project we're worried about getting an SUV, application in, you don't have to.
Saving the effort this year.
Hey, everybody needs to share, like, everybody got a little bit.
That it work?
That's it.
We have a public comment section here in our program, so if there's anyone from the public that would like to say anything, ask any questions, your chance. Lee?
Metro Transit is doing some public information about what they call micro transit. I can't see any technical stuff, but I hope they can bring some technical stuff. Transportation Technical Advisory.
Okay, yeah, I can reach out to Metro. I want to say, most of what I've heard from them on that has been from their planning department, so I'll talk to planning and see if that's something that they're interested in bringing to TTAC. I know they've got a public meeting on Saturday, I believe. I don't actually know what time that's at, but there is a public meeting on Saturday about the microtransit pilot program.
Yeah, we can set it up.
Yeah.
Can I something going back to the SS play, more comments. Something that I've seen recently, Mike City passed it last year, and I'm seeing it more on the state level also, is allowing, UTVs or all open cage vehicles to be operated on public roads. Are we taking that into account when we're some of these safety numbers and things like that? I mean, I made the joke to Todd, you mentioned that the number for helmets is only going to go up, or the fatalities on motorcycles is really going to go up for helmets. I mean, at a certain point, I guess to me, it's one of those that I made a compelling argument to my counsel about, the aspect of a fatality or of a car accident in a golf cart versus a car accident in a car. It's two very different things. And all the data points to increased injuries to things like that. Is that being taken into account when you're looking at some of the safety stuff? Because, even a 5 mile, usually, research in Myrtle Beach was a prime example of this. They allow 10-mile-per-hour accident there is a fatality. On a golf cart, and it's because of throwing into vehicles and injuries, things like that. Is that something we need to, instead of maybe looking at maybe some safety improvements with the infrastructure, maybe legislative things like that, or things along those lines? I think, we're fighting our own. I mean, Omaha is not in that group. Omaha is large, but a lot of the smaller surrounding communities are picking it up. I mean, and following through on it. Even the state has gotten to the point, and I think that I saw a bill now that they're allowing anything with a 25 to 30 mile per hour to be registered vehicle. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, I know if I build a car, the inspection requirements, for me to register it are rather stringent with the state patrol. But if I can take a golf cart with a windshield installed and a seatbelt on it from the factory, I can take it to the county register office and get it registered. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's an area, especially this session, all of the work on policy, State Street for all that we've been looking at, and that's what we're glad this year as well, just looking at that. I know Matt Cox is on the line, but that's been a perennial city council item that the city council plus, and I hadn't seen that ability to take action on it last year. But a lot of the smaller communities are also looking at it as well. That's definitely something we can do. Part of the approach that we've been hoping to take with the legislature as it relates to traffic safety and some other issues with bringing data to bear to those conversations, providing legislators with kind of more detailed information about clearing up the woods, particularly finding thresholds to one in that other area. But that's a bill that we had flagged, but it's good to hear your interest in engaging on that. That's the direction we want to go. Our legislative committee is the subset of our board, and so we'll take that to the meeting on Tuesday or Wednesday next time. Kind of going through the bills that have been introduced. Yeah, I do think there needs to be some engagement with legislators. that these problems don't get easier to solve. And, so, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
at what point do we just say, look, you know, we're kind of fighting a losing battle with that, and, you know, you can only do, you know, quoting one of my professors, well, I need to plan for a lot of things, but I can't.
But say system approach, because there's one part of it that's about the design, a lot of things that go into it. But part of it too, I mean, if you just look at, I mean, you see the signalized, intersection of being so much more representative than the stop intersection for other things. That's a perfect engineering. Solid. People stop when the light is red.
Actually an enforcement issue.
Yeah.
I'll get on my soapbox anytime anybody wants to talk about that. A well-designed traffic signal, there will never be a fit out, ever. There's never two people looking at a green light that are gonna hit each other, ever. But when you don't enforce, here we are. And I'm not surprised at all to see that being so overrepresented because there's no ticketing that happens at signalized intersections in this town. You gotta beg to get it.
It's, they're doing something else.
You do.
Maybe donuts in the intersection.
I understand our law enforcement folks are taxed, and I'm not being critical. Hell, unless we figure out a way to enforce red light running. That is never going to get better. Not an engineering problem. You write tickets, people that run red light.
Automatic red.
We legally do not have that opportunity in the state right now. It is very effective in the states that have it. It is very effective. It's a huge deterrent and it changes people's behavior almost. You cannot today use that in the state. And our police officers, I brought this up more times than I can count. They'll say, we don't have the manpower to do that kind of work. And I'll finish with this. You doubt me, go sit at 72nd Dodge just for about 5 minutes. Your average on your dual lefts, your average number of red light runners per phase are approximately 6 to 8. People, they're hurried, and they just don't care. A lot of times, I've got pictures in file of looking at a green light. Not only a car in front of you, but another car. Yeah, right. Yeah, because I need to let them come in third. Yeah, sure. There you go.
What would you think about filming the vehicle moving in and then set it to the insurance companies so that they can look at if those people are, you know, I have license plate number 156 or whatever. It would be totally legal, obviously. And I would imagine the insurance companies would start thinking, this, we're gonna do something.
I think we get, you know, a backlash, politicians that find a way out.
That's an interesting approach, though.
I'm all for it, but I don't run along against numbers.
But the insurance companies do care about.
Everybody's fun. In looking through the recommended action, we have a list of legislative actions and one which changing towards the automatic ticketing and enforcement, especially red light and red running around schools or areas near vulnerable road users in the state. And so, you know, I love hearing that you're fully supportive of that. And if we could get you on front of the list.
You can't. I will. When I was at the city, I approached our legal team, our city attorney, about approaching the legislature to allow this. Was not interested. It's been fought to death. It's not quite even think we could win. I am on board. I don't fight me.
Well, we'll keep you abreast of it happen through the legislature. But yeah, it's a weird session, you know, in Nebraska especially. There's some opportunity, obviously, in Council Bluffs, they've had some red light enforcement for several years now. And, you know, there's, I think in general, it's been successful, but certainly the state house. And I mean, so to that end, we'll definitely keep the street abreast as we go into that, particularly with the relationships. Regardless of who it is, there's a pile of policy recommendations that will require this to happen.
I have Mike, on the, golf cart approval, is that limited by location to neighborhood streets? I mean, over there are a lot of like golf carts on our, like, you got golf carts on the.
They're limited to 25-mile-per-hour roads. They can't drive on your arterials, but they can cross, which is an issue for me because.
That's where the accidents happen.
Well, I mean, you got a car going 30 and a golf cart that, you know, I mean, and a lot of times, like, for my issue, where I was concerned with in our end is we're not requiring any seatbelt training. I mean, it's just.
They don't come with those, they don't come with the.
Well, actually, they do, I mean, you could, I was amazed. I've been on vacation a number of times and we'll go to Costco to grab groceries for the week. And you go to Costco in other states, and they legitimately have golf carts that are outfitted for streets. I mean.
That they sell, you mean?
Oh, that they sell, yeah, they're set up, they'll do for 35 miles an hour, they've got the windshield, the seat belts and everything else, and the way our state law is written is that if they're on factory on that, they can go register.
Yeah, I was not familiar with this, and the new, they have line meeting right now, the neighborhood adjacent there, I mean, I'm there for stormwater stuff, and I saw, I would say 8 golf carts in 15 minutes, I was like walking around the building, like, what the heck was happening, and a bunch of work for the kids also. I mean, I don't know if there's 80 things where it's, you really get them hard, but there were a bunch of quite young people, 2 or 3 in the front, 2 or 3 in the back, and like, whoa, what is happening? This neighborhood seems to have taken to this idea of.
Well, and if that's an SID, it may not fall under that jurisdiction. I
I
know
was very surprised.
Gretna,
Yeah.
Gretna, I know passed it where they allowed golf carts back in the day, and within a week they had somebody die,
Yeah.
and then they repealed it. I don't know if they passed it or not, so.
Thanks for that, it's very good.
On the new frontier.
You guys have one in, Crystal Lake, where the police decided to start putting up signs. The day after they were up, they were gone. But fortunately, the sheriff's office has these things they can meld right into these signs, so either find it there or the kids take it home and you get a knock on the door. So, but it is a dangerous issue. They'll hang on to the back, going at 25 miles an hour because they didn't have enough room. I agree with you, it's gotta change.
It just seems like, you know, we saw the speeders that went 15 miles per hour and those get from the city. Under 80 degrees, and it's a lot lower, like, hanging on. It's not, it doesn't get any better. Support the folks.
Right. Okay, so that's the end of our public comment section, we'll say. It's only 11 o'clock, we do have time for member agency updates. So, Derek, Austin, would you guys like to start us off on that corner? Let us know what you're up to, anybody that wants to.
Looking good though.
That's great. It was, yeah.
Can you take golf carts on?
As of right now. Not as of yet.
168th Street is, for all intents and purposes, pretty much wrapped up. We'll have some closures in spring. This was some roadside creating seating, we'll decide on what we're seeing. Personnel wise, there was where Chris was now gone, Friday was last day. Interviews yesterday, Chris They're all internal candidates, you know. Wow. We're on the streaming good luck. MAPA recently received the public participation pilot program or TRIPS. Project Prioritization Pilot Program. The PPPP/TRIPS. MAPA was also awarded the Reconnecting Communities for Highway 75 with our joint efforts with local partners, Omaha Metro, Spark, City of Omaha, and our partners at DOT. We continue to strive and push forward additional grant applications. We just submitted the Regional Accelerator Grant with DOT and looking at a couple of others. So good news. One other thing. Yeah, I don't have anything. I was gonna make legislative comment, but I already did. Just to tag on what Carlos just said, just want to thank MAPA and the various jurisdictions and chamber organizations that have provided letters of support for that regional infrastructure accelerator application. Should hear back on that in maybe 3 to 4 months. I think there's clear coordination opportunities to pair that with trips, maybe even this reconnecting leadership work. So more to come there. And then also our complete streets policy development work will kick off in the next 3 to 4 weeks with a 12-month schedule. So by next spring, DOT will have a formal complete streets policy work into our design manual. But in the interim, we will also make opportunities for any active projects to incorporate potential sidewalk and pedestrian initiatives.
I can add to Omaha a little bit as far as construction projects. 72nd Street closed southbound, so now that bridge is fully closed south by 80. That happened on Monday and will be in effect for 6 months before the finished part of the bridge will be opened up, and then 2 southbound lanes and 1 northbound lane. So a little pain there until the summer. Also, the Harney Bridge over 480 will be closed soon, related to streetcar work. And there's a bunch of utility work going on west of there, in Midtown and Blackstone area, getting stuff out of the way for future streetcar work. Lastly, I'm aware the date's not set, but there's going to be a pre-construction meeting for the 205th Cumberland Roundabout project in February, so that is happening this
Jeff, I'm assuming that one will have days to be done on.
There will be closures. We're going to rely heavily on the Skyline interchange. It's not like the intersection will be fully closed, but there will be restricted. It'll be a challenge in that area, as everybody knows. The type of land use in that area with heated sports, it'll be a challenge. We're trying to keep everything around this area open.
Okay.
Different arts than other acts. Right there on the.
We have a lot of jobs closed for the winter, but they're gonna start back up here today. The Highway 50, 372 L Street. The biggest part of the problem is gonna be there, we're gonna make a double left turn lane in Harrison. So that's gonna be done in several phases. That's kind of the major work there. Let's see. Dodge 392nd, diverging diamond. We're looking for a June completion on that. So we haven't got anybody go through that side of it yet, so they haven't seen that yet. Let's see. Dodge Street, Skyline to 168. We still have 180th Street to do there, the interchange. That looks like May completion there. well, let's go back to, Highway 50, 57 in July, we should be done there. See, Highway 75, 34 to Q. That looks like a June, which you still have to, put the penetrating concrete sealer. That's temperature controlled, so. Whatever we get for that. The I-40 Missouri River Bridge, I started that back up in March. That's when we started messing with traffic. We got a couple of days worth of work on the west, Eaton Road, 682, that's. We got the new job starting though, 680, high mast towers. That's gonna start February 3rd. At all the interchanges, L Street, Pacific, Work, 133, and down on 30th Street, all of those stuff. But then new high mast tower there, and then another one, another set of them, it's gonna start April, 72nd Street, this is on 680, Highway 75 with 48th Street, and then down on 30th Street by the Morgan Bridge. And we got another pole job, 480, 12th Street to the Missouri River Bridge, that starts in March. And here's a couple of them that really impact everybody. Westbound 80, Q to Giles, March 31st start. We're gonna be adding a lane from Q Street all the way up to Giles. We're gonna widen the bridge by the airport. That's westbound. And then another thing while we're doing that is westbound off ramp 50th Street or Highway 50. We're gonna be adding an off ramp lane there. And then we got another one of these, Highway 6, Dodge Street, 161st to 127th. That's more or less pavement repairs and night work. So, and that's about all we got.
Brian, you got anything you want to add?
We got several things going right now. The bridge has to be on it, so it's kind of closed. While we bring up, we have done the structure. For anyone who's on the lead bridge over the winter, you're afraid of that. It's very cold at night, so. Beltline Trail 3A was bid and awarded, so we're going to tree clearing on that one. Girard connection from 72nd Street to the east, also bid and awarded, tree clearing as well. And then Beltline Trail Phase 4 currently bidding. And all three of those had extremely strong contractors. We had 9 bids on Girard. We have 7 or pretty much about like 4. So bidding is good for us right now. We're trying to get as many things out as we can because they're competitive. 7 of the 9 came in under the estimate on Girard. So yeah, that's going really well there. Federal aid projects, Elkhorn River Trail Bridge. We're still doing early work on the hydrology to verify the location between east side and Windsor Waterloo. We think we're getting close to the end of that. We're going to get that done, and moving into full design there. Other federal aid projects, the Girard connection will lead to the Sorensen connection to the west. So now that we have Girard in the construction, we will notify DOT of initiating the design of the Sorensen connection, assuming that Girard is existing by the time we start, because we will have other construction to be done later this year. The Millard connection, we will also initiate. That's just based on it's taking a while to get ready for that, and it's going to be a tough one, but we are ready to go. And then lastly, not a federal aid project, Applewood Connector Trail down to West Papio. I'm talking with this second million. That one has been kind of deprioritized while the other 3 went through bidding and construction, but I want to get back in touch with Planning Melissa, trying to find a way to finish up the partnership discussion there and then get that through design and bidding so it'll be ready for construction in 26. So we'll be back to that one. I know we had talked a while ago, but I want to let those other 3 again need to get to construction. So we'll be back after the future. Appreciate the partnership on that. So yeah, this time lots of things for construction now.
City just recently finished up our active mobility plan. Really appreciate MAPA, NRE, and all the other partner agencies that all do that, all the groups. It was a good exercise. I feel like that's in a good position for things like say, all the projects, that situation. So I really appreciate that. 84th Street Trail, we're wrapping up the back end on that to make our August deadline for bidding. We just signed a program agreement for the Thompson Creek Trail, which will take you from Central Park with Boulevard to the connector to Keystone, so we can get going on that, pick up the consultant, get moving on that. As far as our more local type work we've got going on, and we're gonna be doing more panel repair in the neighborhoods west of 84th Street, trying to get ahead of our mass situation. Try to keep getting our good roads good. That's kind of the optimum this year.
Out at, the airport, we just wrapping up 2024, we had 5.3 million passengers, which was 5% increase over the previous year. So people are continuing to fly. Our program is 1 year in, we actually signed our guaranteed maximum price for our terminal reconstruct 1 year ago yesterday. We are about 20% done, and we spent over $100 million already just in the terminal. So it's really rolling. Anybody's been out there, so we haven't really worn out. There's really not a lot of places to sit and linger. It's all hallways right now. We're trying to maximize the construction areas. Middle of February, we're going to split the terminal. So if you're in the south terminal, the south part of the terminal where American and Delta are at, in order to get up to the north, you got to go outside in there. We're going to start building that 3 or 4 story central canopy, central pavilion area in the middle. A demo will start here after the mid-February timeframe. Our central utility plant will come online this spring, and that will be powering the 2 different split terminals through some temporary runs. We've already started the steel on the front part of the new terminal building, and the steel is going in, so things are really moving along. A canopy on the front drive, that should finish up this spring, early summer. Replacing the glass on the top now, all the paving work is done. It's just cold days and windy days make it difficult sometimes to make a lot of progress in that class. Some of the climbing around, it's all moving along.
Douglas County, some of the major projects coming up this year, we're going to be finishing Q Street, that's an 8-6 project. West of 192nd opposite highway and report, get that piece, that'll be out the bid here very shortly. 300th Street, starting on the south end is near Ginger Wood, Ginger Cove area, north up to the highway, working with the city of Valley on that. That's a pretty much turned out to be a reconstruction. It's concrete today, there's not much left of it, there's major roads that are problematic, and so that's going to be pretty much a full reconstruction. 4th Street, just east of 204th, want to get that paved, a lot of school traffic, and yes, too much traffic for gravel road, we can't keep up with it. And we're looking at doing some grading on Rainwood Road. It appears from the flats coming in, there's a lot of action on Rainwood Road in the west. We kind of like to take a novel approach with the county and maybe build a mile to Rainwood Road in advance, getting good interlocal agreement stuff with the city of Omaha, so that as those SIDs come online, they make their contribution to the road that we have gotten massive complaints as these SIDs come online so fast, and the schools. That why do we wait until all the houses are there and all the traffic's there to do the improvement? As you guys know, it's usually a funding issue. But we've got some funding. We think we can get out ahead on this one. We can do it a little better. With that in mind, right now we're looking into and hoping to put out RFPs for on-call design and construction observation to our consultant community. So we've got folks in place that as this stuff comes up, reach out with a phone call and get people started with stuff. That's the highlights.
There are a lot of schools in that area. I didn't really quite realize it until I tried to find them today. Middle school, it's crazy.
That's where the growth is happening in our county and schools. They get out and know that with their common issues. A lot of activity. We've got Bennington's got a school they want to build, a middle school, and there's not a road there yet. I mean, there's not a gravel road that needs to be improved. There is simply no road. It's on Rainbow Road. And they've got plans to build a school. We're trying to figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. You think golf cart might be the answer. Golf cart, no, that's not good.
City of Papillion, we're continuing with our new best program, same as Vista. Our Fed Aid projects are moving forward. I was out for a few weeks, back now, so that's us moving forward. We've also added Shram Road now as one of our Fed Aid projects. Everything else is kind of standard moving forward. I'm looking at hopefully potentially in the next 5 years, we can start to move Full Street and playing out what it's usually. It's completely useful, so that's the option. Well,
And Dr. Blue skipped out.
Yeah, go get set up.
Anything from the peanut gallery back there?
One last thing that we just couldn't fit on the agenda, we just wanted to give you a teaser, move forward. So some of the work that we've been doing for our long range or the metropolitan transportation plan includes our population projections. These are pretty hot off the press, but we're gonna give you a quick glimpse. We'll talk more in upcoming months how this impacts and what they're doing. Owen?
Yeah, MAPA's updating population forecasts from our 2020 travel demand model with new forecasts based on new data. Population forecasts are used in the travel demand model as an input, and data over the past 5 years and a new population model have led to a pretty wide variation in population growth outcomes. Our 2020 travel demand model used population data from the University of Nebraska at Omaha's Center for Public Affairs Research and the Iowa State Data Center, and they both use different population forecast models. MAPA looked to choose model results that are going to more closely align with projections from our 2020 LRTP and use the same population model used by the Iowa State Data Center. There's a new model used by CPAR that returned results that warrant further research, but some limitations in our staff time and some critical deadlines have left us without the resources to fully explore that data and that analysis. So you can see between these two charts are the results from CPAR on the left and the results from Woods and Pool Economics, which is what the Iowa State Data Center uses. You can see that they come to pretty different results there by 2050. And so we're just going to align ourselves with what Iowa has been using and what a lot of the other states around the United States are using right now in Woods and Pool Economics. So some surprising and encouraging results from the Census Bureau show that Nebraska's continued to grow since the pandemic, mostly from international immigration, but in smaller amounts also from natural change, which is just births and deaths. In 2024, Nebraska gained almost 13,000 international residents, which is up 5,500 people from 2023. That trend's probably unlikely to continue at such a high number, but low unemployment rates, low cost of living, and favorable economic and environmental climates around the area support the case for a minimal lowering of population growth in our region. No model is perfect. These all come from population models, which is pretty heavy statistics, which is why we should investigate those results from the Center for Public Affairs Research on the next MTP, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. But if you're interested in county by county breakdowns, we do have those as well.
You say you have a city by city breakdown?
We don't have it, it's not that granular. The data doesn't go, county is the lowest level of geography that you can get it at.
So we do take county control totals kind of out those decades, and then we look at the land use plans and our growth model, allocate growth based on the land use plans. That's if we take that population into total spend, then employment is a function of that population. And so this is essentially, this will guide those control totals for the county. And as Owen alluded to, our 2017 data from CPAR had just over a 1% annualized growth rate for the region. Everywhere around the country is showing much more moderate growth, but the annualized growth rate you see there on the left-hand side, 0.14%, is such a radical policy shift that if we were to continue with that, it would dramatically change what we're showing. The Woods and Pool gives us kind of a more consistent, more moderate, conservative estimate that we can work from and really look here over monitoring over the next 3 to 5 years of growth to see where we're tracking. I will say from 2017 to 2023, we did not track ahead of that population growth. We lagged below it. And that's part of CPAR's model is the adjusting down for what we didn't realize in the 2020 census or the population estimate. So more conservative and moderate growth generally, but these estimates are used not just by us or our model, so wastewater and other things too. So trying to get something that's policy driven that doesn't put us in a situation. That's sort of what we're trying to do.
And so if you have additional questions, we can present additional information in the coming months. We just wanted to see with some of this information. As we're moving forward with our work products, especially the travel demand model and how everyone uses that. So just, hey, we have found a little bit of differences in population estimates. Just wanted to get it out there. More to come. Thank you very much to all my staff for putting a lot of time and effort getting all this information together. So thanks, Owen and everyone. And I think that's it.
Well, I have one piece of additional business I'd like to just talk about now. Mike, I'm glad you're here. I put this in a couple of your surveys to bring attention to MAPA, and I talked to Laura about it at a separate meeting. But just for everybody in the room's knowledge, the old Lincoln Highway out in Douglas County, the western part of the city, the northern part of Douglas County, is the longest continual piece of old Lincoln Highway left in the United States. It's quite unique. It's still brick. There's some of the old markers that are still out there. The city and county over the years have had the foresight to place holds on property along there, so it's not developing into strip malls and apartment houses. If there's places for parks, they have set aside additional lots behind houses for bike trail placement, things like that. The reason I'm talking to you about it today is about a month ago, one of my constituents reached out through one of the county commissioners and said, hey, the county closes this thing down to vehicular traffic during the winter, which we do, so we're not putting salt on it and scraping it with blades. And we have to coordinate with some businesses out in that area when we do that. They said if they can do it in the winter, why don't they just close the vehicular traffic and make the whole thing bike trail? I've got a 60+ page document if anybody wanted to reach out to me. I've provided it to several people in this room already, indicating we did a study back in 2002 with Marty Schubert at Schubert Verge, looking at the history of this, coming up with recommendations. And that's where a lot of these additional roadways have been built, some of them using federal money to keep daily commuters off of the old Lincoln Highway. But the intention is to keep it open to vehicular traffic. If somebody drives here from Indiana, wants to witness and drive on this old section of Lincoln Highway, that's what it was intended for. And we feel very strongly it should remain open to traffic. Now, it could go, if we all got together and found money and put the effort into it, it goes all the way out to Highway 64, West Maple Road. There's still bricks going through Old Elkhorn. There's a lot of cool stuff. So I want to maybe throw out a challenge, and Mike, maybe this may be good for an online conversation, or I'm sorry, offline conversation later about maybe it isn't a call for projects thing, but we would like to appeal to MAPA to think about, as the city of Omaha is involved, counties involved. We've got the downtown Elkhorn business, they just recently did their streets. There's a lot of people involved, but it's going to be a challenge. But I think it could become something very unique and really, it could be enhanced so much over what it is today. So I wanted the people in this room to be aware of it. Dan Kulek is our historian in Douglas County. He is passionate about this, and he provides a lot of history. And so I just wanted to throw that out for the group so that everybody was aware of it, and maybe we can make some recommendations. There are going to be some challenges. Some of the houses that were built with set-aside property behind now have fences, gardens, sheds on public city of Omaha owned right away. It's intended for the trail. And I know how well those folks are going to take from the news that, hey, you're going to have to move your fence and get rid of your garden, and we're going to have a trail behind there. Anyway.
Well, it's interesting you bring up, I mean, two reasons. One, I took my kids over the 180th Street Bridge the other day, why it looks like the Empire State Building, why it's Art Deco, all that. So it's fun to me. I will say there's a group on the Iowa side that's putting together an app about interpreting the Lincoln Highway, basically like almost like a mobile tour, like podcast, if you kind of go through it. And so that conversation is just getting off this year, and so it might be an opportunity to just think about that and be exposed to that. There's a lot of a lot of groups that try to make that trip coast to coast on the Moving Highway. We had a military group, yes, a year or two ago, and that was pretty incredible. But, yeah, no, I think it's great. I think we'll talk more about it. We should also thank you guys with Steph Cameron, because we submitted an application for National Scenic Byway grant, Think Highway and St. So, it's primarily marketing, design, but they feel like they have a pretty good shot at it. And that could be one potential way to apply some of these funds.
We are all for building a trail as part of this experience. And there's right away so you can do it without the trail changing the experience for the car driver, but allowing other users who want to enjoy this. There's a place we could build a solar park and have exhibits showing the old highway, maybe an interactive experience that you find out when you take your phone and you walk around. So there's all kinds of potential, but it's nobody's real focal. So maybe in the next 5 years, we can make it really good.
I love that. Love that. Yeah, well, we should open the golf course.
In the city of Orange.
Yeah, no, the Omaha. With that, is there any additional business? Anybody got anything that they wanna put out? Okay, we got our future meetings that are on there. I'm not gonna read them off, since everybody here can read. So with that, if there is a motion to dismiss.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Second. The motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye. Yeah, come on. Boy, oh boy.
Sure.
But.
Wow. 3-day weekend. For some, I know, yeah, we're lucky.
Even though it's